July 18th study session for the Board of Directors of the Costa Mesa Sanitary District to order. Madam Clerk, the roll call, please.
Director Arthur Perry.
Here.
Assistant Secretary Robert Wooten.
Here.
Secretary Arlene Schaefer.
Here.
Vice President James Harriman.
Present.
President Michael Schaefer.
Here. Thank you. Item 2, public comments. This is the time and place for folks to speak on items before the board. We have one request. Judith Marquez, if you'd like to step to the podium, please.
Good morning. I'm here today to update you guys on the Ocean Friendly Restaurants program and the SEP that we had requested from Surfrider Foundation. I've spoken with the regional board, and there is a potential, even though that you have been in legal issues with the regional board, that they would still award the SEP and that any fines would be able to be kept in the area. So I wanted to get this into the minutes that there is an opportunity. Not sure whether they would actually approve it, but because it would actually help with the FOG program and also the organics diversion that we're doing. So do you have any questions? I know I've presented this before.
Doesn't appear there are any questions. I know we like you stated, we've considered and listened to it before. So
Right. So if you want the fines to stay in the watershed, then you would need to put in a request. Otherwise, because you fought the notice that you would not be able to pursue a SEP, and this has direct nexus to the FOG discharge.
good. Bob?
Who would we talk to at the regional board?
Chuck Griffin.
Chuck Griffin? Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll now move to items of study. B1, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first item is the district's fat, oil, and grease program, which we are required by the state to implement a program to prevent fog from entering the sewer system, because as you know, fog can create a sanitary sewer overflow. So we've hired EEC to administer our program, where they go and inspect the restaurants to ensure that they're complying with best management practices and complying with our regulations. And so I've asked Joe Jenkins from EEC to give you the annual report of our fog program. So I'm going to turn it over to Joe Jenkins.
Joe, it's all yours, bud.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, board. Make sure this thing works. So basically, just going to summarize the actions and activities that we've been conducting for the FOG program for the Costa Mesa Sanitary District. It essentially summarizes into these few points here, with the main one being conducting what we call risk-based FSC inspections and prioritizing our inspections based on the FSC's risk to discharge fog into the sewer system. Essentially what we're doing, instead of like some agencies will go out and just inspect everyone blanketly, at the same frequency, regardless of the type of facility they are. But what we like to do is, optimize the district's resources in EEC and really place our focus on those facilities that could potentially lead to a sanitary sewer overflow or a fog blockage within the sewer system. I'll talk more about the prioritization of FSCs here in a second. Other stuff we do during our inspections, fog control program, education and outreach. This is more than an enforcement. The district putting their thumb on the food service establishments. We're out there trying to educate them on what they need to do to keep fog out of the sewer system. But we do run into the occasional FSC enforcement and coordinating enforcement with them. We manage all of the inspection data and FSC data and access databases and GIS mapping services. We conduct plan review over here for new FSCs or FSCs that are undergoing remodel, so making sure they're putting in the appropriate type of grease control device, grease interceptors. We do a lot of working with them one-on-one to evaluate maybe the number of sinks and drains they have, the type of facility they have, to make sure they have the appropriate device goes into that facility. And then the last one is fog source characterization and working towards hotspot reduction. So quarterly, we attend the sewer system subcommittee meeting that meets and reviews the district's hotspots. You know, maybe 5 years ago or so, there was almost 100 hotspots within the district, and over the time, we've worked them down to now we're in the 30 to 40 range. So it's prioritizing hotspots for review, identifying the hotspots that are fog related, and then taking the appropriate action to go out and mitigate those locations. So some FSC statistics. Currently, FSC is what we call in the fog program. There are 489. There's actually more restaurants than 489 within the district. Some are what we call limited food preparation facilities. These are coffee shops and places that just aren't cooking food. So there's 217 of those.
I mean, the 19,000 Starbucks that are in the city probably.
Right. Right. We don't want to harass people who aren't causing problems. So
Exactly.
we identify them. We keep track of them. You know, if Starbucks wants to start doing rotisserie chicken, we'll be there. But for now, you know, we just
Don't
keep
put it
track.
past them, Joe.
I-
It could happen.
I don't doubt that. And then we've identified 67 facilities that used to be restaurants. Now they're out of business. You know, they could in the future have a new restaurant open up there again. So we keep track of them. We check in on them from time to time just to make sure someone doesn't come in and open business without first going through permitting. But they're not counted towards that 489 number. So of the 489, 159 have outdoor concrete big gravity grease interceptors, and then 61 have the indoor hydromechanical grease interceptors or grease traps. And so, you know, a decent ratio of interceptors to FSEs, but you still have a lot of food service establishments out there operating without grease interceptors. It's not a bad thing, but something to keep in mind. So let's go back and talk a little bit about prioritizing FSCs for inspection and how we do that. It's based kind of on these criteria. So if a food service establishment has high-risk cooking equipment, so grills, griddles, woks, rotisseries, stuff like that, that they can really produce a lot of grease. We want to make sure we're out there visiting them, making sure they're handling their grease right. Certainly, any food service establishment immediately downstream or in the proximity of a hotspot location, we'll inspect them more frequently. Whether or not they have a grease interceptor installed. What we've been doing a lot in this last year is inspecting more of the FSCs without grease interceptors that are in hotspot locations. So, you know, making sure they're following their DMPs, keeping their grease out of the sewer system because they don't have that extra level of protection. And then, you know, BMP requirements, if they have any, you know, special BMPs that they need to be implemented, we want to make sure we're following up with them to make sure they're doing that. Throughout the year, we constantly are evaluating the inspection frequencies of facilities and modifying those frequencies. Some things that drive that include the compliance history of the restaurant, food service establishment, any field maintenance, so the district's O&M guys, when they're out there cleaning, if they identify heavy fog accumulation, they'll let us know, and we might go out and inspect those FSCs more frequently. We receive data from the healthcare agency, and so if we have a facility that's had repeated non-compliances from the healthcare agency, we'll go pay them a visit. And then just when we're out doing inspections, our field observations will drive it too. So any illicit activities that we identify, recent private sanitary sewer overflows, or restricted effluents or blockages, high elevated water levels and grease interceptors. We want to make sure we're following up with them and staying on top of them. More stats. So these are inspections that we conducted in the last fiscal year. So for new facilities, call them initial or permitting inspections, we did 30. Both kitchen best management practices and grease interceptors, so those are combined inspections, 183. Grease interceptor only, 103. So BMP inspections, you can see We did a little bit more B&P inspections this year, focusing on hotspot-related FSCs without grease interceptors, so 2.5, blind inspections 60, and then elevated enforcement type inspections 3. So this is really the key trend when you're evaluating the effectiveness really of any sewer program is your SSOs that you're having. And so I would like to stand up here and say that this is directly a result of EEC's efforts and our FOG program efforts, but it's really not. This is total sewer system management plan, efforts keeping this trend down. So this is proactive sewer line cleaning. This is district staff out there being very familiar with the sewer system and the potential trouble issues within the system, and then proactive FOG program education and outreach. So it's everything combined, but it certainly is a tribute to the district and the district's proactive efforts. So what was some of the elevated enforcement or enforcement-related issues we had throughout the year? So there's just a few instances. We were talking earlier about this Sweet Basil Cafe place. We identified during inspection that their hydromechanical grease interceptor that was serving the facility was completely corroded, rotted out, leaking out through the sides. And so work with them to get it replaced immediately, and then making sure they're staying on a frequent pumping frequency. And these are just a few of the other ones where usually it's pumping frequency, is making sure they're maintaining the interceptors. So it's, and a lot of these do have the hydromechanical grease interceptors. And a hydromechanical grease interceptor is an effective device for a facility, but only effective if they're maintaining it right and that they're staying on top of their maintenance. And so, we stay on top of these facilities a little bit more than we do others. So let's talk about some of our recommendations, moving forward. Continue conducting risk-based analysis and FSC prioritization, optimizing our inspection resources and focusing on FSCs that are causing big problems. We want to try to incorporate different methods to improve B&P employee compliance and training compliance, especially for facilities that don't have interceptors. So just to increase focus on employee training during our first visits with them and making sure they have all their educational materials, reminding them to train their employees when we renew permits. So including that with like the letter and that sort of thing. And then conducting more follow-up inspections specific for employee non-compliances. And then focusing more on that. More focus on enforcement, especially for chronic non-compliances, and especially in FOG-related hotspots. So ensuring facilities are staying in compliance in these areas. Could be issuing more letters to them, more elevated notices of non-compliance if they have more than one non-compliance issue. Continue to do hotspot reduction and source investigation, and one of the main things here is requiring grease interceptor installations for problem FSCs. We've talked about this I think before, but identify those problem FSCs and work with them to get interceptors in place. And then just continue to be open-minded towards new grease interceptor technologies. This is something that I think sets the district apart from a lot of other agencies, is not just having this blanket gravity grease interceptor installation requirement, but making sure they have the right type of grease interceptor technology for their facility, and then continue to evaluate and be open-minded to new technologies that are coming in, but also doing the due diligence to make sure that they're effective technologies. So with that, I'll open it up to questions or comments.
Joe, I had two questions real quick. I think you answered the first one about new restaurants that come in. I remember several years ago the problem we had with the Mediterranean restaurant over on 17th Street, and we had them do all the work. I think you were involved with that.
Yeah.
And now it's a hamburger place, I think.
Yeah.
So when that new owner comes in, we give them an education, or when they come in to get their permits, we educate them on what they need, I assume. And
Right.
Okay. And then the second question I had, and I don't even know if we have control on this, but what do we do about food trucks?
So food trucks themselves are But the food trucks have a centralized parking location where they wash out their trucks and they do discharge and stuff. And so I don't believe there's any of those facilities within the district. There's one in Irvine, kind of, and Tustin over there by the Legacy.
I know there's one in Santa Ana right on Fairview
Yeah.
first, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, if you have a location where a food truck is consistently parking, it might be worth going over and checking on them, just making sure, they're not dumping their grease waste where they shouldn't be. Or like maybe at the fairgrounds or something like that.
That's the one I was thinking about, is on Wednesdays or Thursdays, I think they have a food truck night.
Yeah.
When the fair's not going, obviously, and
So if you could have them install like temporary communal grease traps, if they're connecting to the sanitary sewer there. But they really shouldn't be. They should be collecting all their grease and all their grease.
Yeah, I wouldn't
waste
think
and
they
water on
could-
the truck.
Rob, I don't think they could connect anywhere over at the fairgrounds, could they? To the
No.
sewer?
No.
They'd have to all be self-contained.
Yeah.
Okay.
So usually they're self-contained. They have a centralized area where they dump.
You would hope so, huh? I think Arlene had
Yeah, I do. Do you coordinate with the city as far as the business licenses and getting some new?
We do.
I gathered that,
Mhm.
okay.
We do.
And then do you have a plan that you're going forth, like for the whole year, that you make the rounds and then kind of pinpoint?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, and I know you do with the health department, but I just wondered with everyone. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
When I see the word chronic, that's a little disturbing.
Sure.
Do you have any specific recommendations? You meet with our staff quarterly. Do you make specific recommendations, or have you, to deal with those food service establishments that are deemed chronic? Would you recommend, say, something like a smart cover, or you do discuss that in the meetings that you have with staff?
Right. I don't know that we've discussed smart covers as much, but smart covers certainly are a good idea, especially if you have a hot spot where you think it's a high risk for sanitary sewer overflow. Like the guys who've gone there to clean and they notice with the water surcharge in the manhole.
Yep.
Or if you have a location that's just, it's got a structural issue, but it's cost prohibitive to repair it, smart covers are a good solution. As far as, chronic FSCs, our initial response for them is to increase inspection frequencies until they maintain consistent compliance. But I think for a lot of those FSCs, it's going to require elevated enforcement. So we've gone to administrative letters, but historically the district has stayed away from like fines or things like that have sometimes worked in other agencies.
Yeah, we created a policy specifically for that. It's never been used, but
Yeah. We have
If I could add on to, so as Joe mentioned and Director Uden mentioned, our committee that meets every 3 months, one of the results from those meetings was coming back to the board and looking at implementing a grease trap assistance program for those chronic FSCs. You might recall that, but as we did some more research, we thought that just wasn't very cost effective. It was too expensive. So that was one of the results we looked at to establish those chronic FSCs. As Joe mentioned, I think because that's not very cost effective, more enforcement is going to probably be the result.
have you looked at smart cover applications?
Sure. In fact, we're looking at there's different types of smart covers now. We're finding they're more less expensive than the ones we're using now. So we're testing those out as we speak, and we are looking at placing them at other locations.
Okay.
They're not as good in like high traffic areas where you have cars running over them constantly, just sensors on and stuff. But
Joe, could you go back to the slide that shows how many inspections and all you guys have done?
yeah,
We usually get a phone call if there's a chronic problem. Joe will call me or Steve or someone, and he usually has an idea of where to go. And we discuss those things. We roundtable a lot of decisions. But that's right there is why we're so successful, is because those are a lot of inspections. That's a lot of boots on the ground, and we're out there. We also use the Orange County Health Care food inspectors. We pay them for one visit and a BMP inspection. So we use all the tools possible for a successful fog program, and we have whittled down under Scott's tutelage all the way down into the 30s for number of hotspots, which is really incredible.
Okay, we do have a member of the public. Ms. Marquez, you want to speak on this item, so. Okay. Thank you, Joe, as always. Good job.
So the Ocean Friendly Restaurants Program offers another tool, and it offers an opportunity to collaborate with other organizations that are involved in reducing the trash, because now California is under the new trash policy that we need to eliminate trash to our surface waters and ocean waters. And so this is helping with that because it directly addresses the trash that's coming from the restaurants. And here in the 2 chapters of Surfrider that I've been working with, the Ocean Friendly Restaurants Program, I am actively implementing a fog control program, giving them additional tips with pictures, things based on my background, my knowledge, having conducted thousands of inspections similar to what EEC does. So it's a great opportunity. I'm looking at collaborating with Orange County Healthcare Agency and other organizations. I'm already collaborating with Waste Management because they are doing the commercial organics diversion. And so they give us educational information on what they're doing to divert the organics from the restaurant. It goes through wastewater. It actually is a cogeneration opportunity. They're powering the wastewater at LA County Sand District right now until we get some current ones in the area with Irvine Ranch Water District is putting an anaerobic digester in, and others that the program was in pilot at Fashion Island, and it did so well. They're now doing it at South Coast Plaza and other places, ramping up. And so that's going to be something. A lot of the smaller agencies are also partnering with Waste Management to take their organics so it can be put through the process that they have over in Orange, where they make an engineered bioslurry. So this is really exciting that the restaurants like participating in a renewable energy. They're creating renewable energy by diverting their food waste, but then also with the fog, because the fog can also be diverted through those processes. I'm also looking at, when CR&R comes on, that if they want to do commercial things, we can work with them, because the compost is very important to sequestering carbon through our greenhouse gas emissions reduction. And Surfrider brand is very well known, and we're developing the program. It's actually being launched nationwide. So this is an opportunity for Costa Mesa Sanitary District to be in the forefront to help develop the aspect, because like I said, I'm the only one that's doing it in just the 2 chapters here. With the Newport Beach chapter, we handle all of the cities, all the way up to Big Bear on this side of the river, and then I'm also with the Huntington Beach chapter that handles them on the other side. So literally the entire Santa Ana River Basin is being handled and implementing the fog controls as well. So it's another touch that we're giving to the restaurants, that they are, again, being educated. It's also a wonderful opportunity for getting the residents involved, because we have a vast thing on social media, and several of our chapters are doing extremely well with this.
Can you wrap up?
Sure.
Your 3 minutes is up, so.
So I just wanted to say it's a great opportunity for this public agency to collaborate with a nonprofit and with other private organizations in reducing waste and creating renewable energy, reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
Thank you. Okay. Before we move to item 2, I know we have, thanks, Joe. We have some folks here from Segerstrom. Can we go ahead and move item 6 up so that anybody have a problem with doing that?
No.
Okay. Let's go to item 6.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rob Hamers will be giving this report.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. We have some guests today. We have, you have seen them before. We have Jeff Reese and Carmen, his assistant from CJ Segerstrom. A year ago, the board tackled this topic and approved vacating a small portion of an easement and sewer main manholes and laterals. and the reason to vacate that was to make a clear area for a building. And what happened was the third party who was going to buy the land and build the building fell out of the transaction. So when they withdrew, Segerstrom decided that they wanted to still clear the area of the utilities so it would still be free to have a new building there, and they're actively pursuing that building. So what we have is, we have the same situation, except now we don't have a third-party buyer. And Segerstrom we are in the process of finalizing the hold harmless agreement with them. At this point, Alan has been in touch with Segerstrom's attorney, and Alan is finalizing the hold harmless agreement. So the quitclaim deed we have from last time still looks good. We have all the exhibits, and all we need is the hold harmless, which I'm okay with and Alan's looking at. So we really have this on the study session agenda for discussion, and we would put it on the board meeting for action, possibly on the consent calendar if there are no problems. But once again, Segerstrom has agreed to the conditions that we placed on the third-party buyer. They've agreed to those, and we're here to say, let's put this on the agenda for this regular meeting this month.
So in essence, the removal of the third party causes a new quit claim process and all of that.
We're still doing the quitclaiming, although who is accepting it will not be the third-party buyer, it will really be Segerstrom, and then the hold harmless will be with them instead of the third party.
Didn't the third party originally, didn't we already go through a quitclaim and a hold harmless with the original third party?
None of the documents were ever recorded. They were
that's
being
where I was
held
confused.
until
Okay.
there was going to be 3 transactions closed at the same time, a lot line adjustment, a sale, a quitclaim, and the hold harmless. So everything was set up like dominoes, and then but nothing has been recorded.
Instead of more like a Jenga where the whole thing falls.
Right. You do have a representative here if you have any questions.
Okay, great. Thanks. Any questions
I
from,
think we should
from the board?
put it on the agenda.
Yeah, let's put it on the agenda.
Yeah, I think it is scheduled for the agenda already. So
Well, basically, this will just give Segerstrom, the ability to move forward as they see fit to develop that area.
Yes, exactly.
That looks fine.
okay. Any comments, or you guys okay? Then we will.
Wendy.
We're thrilled to be able to build the building. Unfortunately, it wasn't the other buyer, but now we get to keep it and own it, which is a good thing.
Oh, is it?
But we need to move the easement out of the way.
Okay.
To make that happen.
Right.
And we're pretty far down the road with design on that, so it's coming.
Appreciate it. Ms. Davis, you have a comment?
I just want to clarify that last June, when this was brought to the board and was approved in the minutes, we didn't realize the contracts weren't executed. So we went ahead and took the assets off our books. But Segerstrom has agreed to reimburse us for the time and money spent on the attorney's bills and the engineering bills for this additional cost. So we will be invoicing them to recoup all this additional work.
What does that amount, Wendy?
Staff has been tracking it. I want to say somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000.
Pretty minimal.
Pretty significant for something that we weren't required to do and didn't have to do. So,
All right, then we will have this on the July
7. Next week.
27th agenda, and we appreciate you guys coming in this morning. Thank you.
On the consent
Mr.
calendar?
This will be a consent calendar item.
If it's on the consent calendar, they certainly don't need to attend the meeting, but if it's on the regular agenda, they would probably attend.
Okay.
So-
Is that determination been made?
Well, I
This will
think
be
it's up to you.
consent.
Yeah, we put on consent.
I assume it'd be, we've already gone through the,
Yes.
excuse my language, gymnastics over this. So
Right.
I would say consent calendar item is where it needs to be.
You think that's the right way to go?
Yeah, I think because we've already had the discussion a year ago, and we've already looked at everything that was going
We-
to transpire.
We can talk with Alan and see if he's comfortable with that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to see you do.
Thanks, Rob, that's a good suggestion. And we'll notify Sagerstrom if we.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's certainly, if Alan's comfortable with the hold harmless, and they're comfortable, we'll see what happens.
Very good.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Thank you again. All right, then we'll go back to item number 2, code enforcement. Ed, are you okay? Yes, sir.
Okay.
Alert, ready to go?
Ready to go, sir?
Okay.
Good morning, President Schaefer, members of the board. Ed Roberts, the District Code Enforcement Officer, presenting the Code Enforcement Officer report for June 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, for the month of June, there were a series of 5 proactive scavenging investigations conducted by myself. As you'll notice, I did prepare a map for you, as usual, showing you the geographic areas in which they were found, primarily concentrated on the west side of Costa Mesa. If I may direct the board's attention to 2108 Raleigh Avenue, I believe it's the 4th one. In my narrative, we had discussed this in the past study session about some of the issues that I deal with out in the field as far as mental health and some of the folks that I come across with. And this is a perfect example of some of the training that I've received in my other life for de-escalating a situation and dealing with a schizophrenic individual. I had a run-in with the male subject in the 2100 block of Raleigh. Right upon contact, I could tell that the individual was displaying rejected symptoms of someone with a mental ailment. I could see that the situation was going to rapidly deteriorate, and that's with the guidance of Scott and the board that truly it's just not worth engaging over scavenging where we can refer it over to the police should it be an issue. Fortunately for me, I offered the man to contact an officer and get some services available to him because we are duty bound as government to offer folks mental services. He did refuse, and he was sent on his way. But just to let the board know that some of the things that we deal with, citation would have been appropriate in this instance. However, I believe it would have needlessly escalated the situation and exacerbated the problem. So I walked away, and he walked away. And I think it was for the better. At the end of the day, CMSD, we were able to collect the recyclables. He left with nothing in hand, and no problems or issues for me. For the trash container enforcement, month of June, 117 cases that resulted in me noticing resident property owners here in Costa Mesa. Nothing of note to report to you. Let's see, anything additional? No real graffiti issues. I've noticed folks, painting their address numerals on their carts, and traditionally we've been hands off. If it's egregious, looks awful, maybe I'll bring it to their attention to see if we can clean it up a little bit so it doesn't look bad. Nothing too serious to note. And the last page, just an overview. It's a map of Costa Mesa. Again, as usual, majority of my cases will take me onto the west side. And the east side has been stepping up its activity a lot. I've actually been sitting on the east side considerably more now. And I expect the numbers may shift a little bit in the future.
Shift to the east side?
Yes, sir. I've just seen a proliferation of indigent folks kind of setting up shop on the east side. And a lot of the pedestrian traffic that I normally see on the 19th Street corridor harbor has migrated over to Santa Ana, Orange, Wilson Street areas.
Better recyclables on the east side.
Sir, I wouldn't be able to attribute it to anything beyond. Folks are just, they like it on that side now. So, and there are trends like that. Just kind of shifts for whatever reason.
What's attracting them over there?
The parks.
Yeah.
We have a number of parks on the east side that are low key.
That's a good call.
Okay.
Arlene,
Yeah, I had a question,
Yes, ma'am.
or I should say a comment too. On Eldon Avenue, I had somebody call up and say that they were upset because there were some scavengers around there, and not only that, but a homeless had taken a cart and was wheeling it around, putting all their stuff in it.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you could kind of check that more, or
Certainly,
if
my
you've
pleasure.
seen that.
I've actually 2 months in a row, if you notice the third one down for your reference, was in the 2600 block of Eldon Avenue.
Mhm.
And that was in response to a complaint that they brought to my attention about a month prior. And it's very sporadic, it's hit or miss. I'm on one block and
Yeah.
folks are on the adjacent block.
I
So
know.
my patrol method is I'll sit, at a corner, get eyes on all 4 directions, and then move on in about 10 minutes to see if someone else rolls up. But
They said it was on Wednesday.
on Wednesday, again?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. I'll try to direct my.
Okay,
my
thank
efforts in
you.
that direction.
This just seemed to be a thing for me, but the cart enforcement, container enforcement, they're the same streets every month, isn't it? I mean, it's the same people every month that.
I wouldn't say it's the same folks, sir. It's just, keep in mind, when you do a patrol pattern, you try to cover a main, secondary arterial,
Yeah.
which will, cause you to intersect with the majority of the streets. I'm sorry for using my visual aid. You go down a main street.
In some societies, that's true.
Right, sir. So just by me happening, I'll be on Idaho or New Hampshire, one of those which kind of intersects with the bulk of the streets in that residential area. It's vacations. It's the negligent kid that forgot to bring in the cards. It's any number of things. I wouldn't say there's anybody in our community that stands out as a repeat chronic violator, because they would have gone in the door knock, on the second or third instance.
Okay.
And talking to.
Thanks for reassuring me.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, there's no public enemy number one out there when it comes to trash bags. So everybody pretty much goes along with the program for the most part.
Good.
I had one other comment. Now, you can laugh at this, but I don't understand it. We have the west side, that we're having a pilot program on locking the trash cans. So what happens when the trash comes to pick up and it's locked?
Ma'am, the lock
Yes.
mechanism,
It
automatically.
opens. It opens.
When it turns over.
I honestly, I thought, I gotta ask this.
When it turns over, it opens up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, most of the ones that are out there are actually pretty darn effective. We have a couple folks that have them, and they were great.
Really? Okay, thank you.
While we're on that topic, Scott, how many people have taken advantage of the
40 right now? 40?
43 additional ones?
Really? Wow.
And how many do we have in stock?
75, I believe. 75 in stock? No. For the carts, I think we about 100 or something, 75, 100. I can't remember. Yeah. So we'll again monitor it. If we run out of this real soon, then we'll come back to the board and ask for appropriation more money and get some more carts.
Okay, sounds good.
We just sent out the cards to I think they hit the Wilson Street mostly, in that area. And so we got incredible response right before the 4th of July holiday. We got a lot of people calling. And so CRNR has been busy trying to get them out. In fact, they weren't assembled. And so, people who were promised the cards and didn't get delivered because they weren't going to be assembled because of the demand. But we haven't had any complaints I think since the end of last week. But they all happen to be on the same, the Wilson area, the West Wilson area was all on Monday pickup. And so Monday was before the 4th of July, and so everything was just a little bit wonky. But yeah, we've gotten a lot of response from the cards.
Okay.
And when we set up the notices, they were bilingual too. So Nabila was able to interpret it both English and Spanish. I think that made an impact as well on the west side.
How many cans did we lose to fireworks?
Yeah, I don't know.
Of those 40 plus, were those including Wilson Street or not? They were, okay.
They're mostly that area.
Whereabouts on Wilson? How far down? You
And
know?
afterwards, I can give you, we're tracking it when we're notifying CRNR, so we can give you a spreadsheet of.
I'd like to, like maybe next meeting we could take a look at that.
I know that a substantial number of them were at the mobile home park right there, off of Wilson, because they identified a slot number.
Between Fairview and Harbor?
Okay, so, I consider that like East Wilson almost.
That's East Wilson, yeah.
Yeah, that's East
Once
Wilson.
you get past our hood, it's East Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bob,
Okay,
get it.
that's good.
Actually, not dealing with that engine, CRNR ends up with the recyclables either way.
Thank you, Director. Okay. As always, thank you, sir. Good job.
Good job.
Thank you.
All right, organics tonnage report, item 3.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't believe the chart is showing up online here. Oh, there you go. Okay, very good. So,
Yeah,
thank you.
it was online.
Okay, so any questions? Happy to answer those, but you see, it looks like June was our
Best month
most
ever.
successful month, yes.
Any questions for staff?
Well, it looked like March was a bigger month.
No, June's.
Oh,
June's
I'm back a year, yeah.
June,
Yeah.
that was the best.
So basically, does CRNR believe the program has matured? Or does staff believe the program has matured?
Yes, I think what's attributing to the increase, as you know, there's no more water restrictions, so people are watering their lawns, and so we're getting more green waste.
I think that's a major contributor to that.
Good, Dean. When that lady was here talking about the program that Waste Management has, is that something that you're familiar with, Dean?
Yeah. Thank you, Dean.
'Cause I thought it was a little interesting.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dean Ruffridge with CRNR. Waste Management has a grinder machine over at the transfer station in Orange, and they're taking commercial food scraps and grinding it up, making a slurry out of it, and then taking it to the LA Sand District to put in their digesters. And yes, we do utilize some of that at Waste Management for our commercial programs, and we take commercial food scraps from Costa Mesa, Newport Beach, Irvine, the 3 open competitive markets for commercial to the waste management facility for the time being. If you'd like, I'll just give you a brief update on the anaerobic digester, which will take that.
Yeah.
As you know, it's a 4-phase project. Phase 1 was sold out pretty rapidly. Phase 2 should be up and running, we're hoping by the end of this month, probably the next couple of weeks. And believe it or not, Phase 2 is almost sold out. Very, very little left. Midway City Sanitary District last week approved an organics program, curbside collection. So they're into the program. And phases 3 and 4 have not been let yet, waiting on some potential grants. But just to let you know, phases 3 and 4 may be totally sold to the city of Los Angeles. So
Really?
they approached us last week to buy the project out.
So
I
what is
think
your
it's-
total right now?
Total tonnage?
Yeah, no, total of agencies that participate.
Well, with all of our 9 franchise cities in Riverside County are participating. They've all agreed, and they're all in the $2 to $2.50 per month increase in the residential rates. And I'm glad to say that every one of those cities unanimously approved the project, just like EX did years ago.
Really?
In Orange County, we currently have, let's see if I can count, Costa Mesa Sand District, San Clemente, City of Stanton, Midway City just approved it, and then Aliso Viejo. So there's 5 cities out of the 14, 15 that we do in the county that have already approved it.
Can I ask, how does Midway Cities work with you in terms, because they collect it themselves, and
Yeah.
where do they take it to?
Yeah, Midway City is a franchise contract very similar to yours or ours, but it's a exclusive franchise for commercial collection only. So Westminster is a huge commercial center, as you know, a lot of restaurants. I think there's over 150 restaurants in that little town. But they continue to collect residential themselves. They have about a 9 or 10 route residential program, very similar to Costa Mesa Sand District. And they have a 2-cart program. They have the recyclables and they have a trash cart. So their green waste has been pulled out as much as we can out of the black cart, but it's really contaminated with a lot of fines, a lot of glass and metal and so forth. So that will not be allowed to be used after 2019 for ADC or anything. So they've got to clean it up. And they're anticipating, they took a look at, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but I think Ken and you have talked a few times. They've taken a look at your stats, your reports. They took a look at San Clemente. San Clemente is an interesting case. They had a lot of green waste in San Clemente. And 3 months after the organics program was implemented, which included food waste at the curbside, it's up 5 to 7%. and we attributed, believe me, we attributed most of that to food scraps. Very, very environmental community. Again, that rate went up $2.54 a month, and let me tell you, that's a lot of increase, but not one objection at City Council on the 5 unanimous vote. It was amazing. And I remember, just a quick note, I remember this thing from maybe 15 years ago when I came here, we had a 5-cent increase because of the cost of living CPI. And those people from Marblehead came out like, you wouldn't believe 5 cents was going to kill them. That's just how times have changed, I think, a little bit.
Dean, Orange County Sand District and a lot of the Orange County cities or districts that have anaerobic digesters are working on a similar agreement to take organic waste into their digesters.
Right.
So, and that's similar to the LA County Sand District program.
Yeah, we understand that.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's implemented. We used to pilot it at Orange County Sand District, and I think they're going to pilot it again, but they're working on an agreement so that they're not competing with each other.
Yeah, I think one of the things about the digester in Los Angeles is that it only takes food scraps. It will not take green waste.
Yeah.
So green waste, in our open markets in our cities, our plan was to collect organic or food scraps with the green waste and take it all to the anaerobic digester. Instead of having two separate trucks, one pick up food scraps, one pick up green, we did, I call it a combo route. So residential, obviously residential can combine it, but commercial can also. And that was our plan. So we're taking another look at that. In our open competitive markets, those 3 cities will probably stay with food scraps and maybe continue to use waste management for the future.
With LA City taking those last 2 digesters, will that get them up to the 70%, do you think?
I don't think so. There's so much green coming out of the city of Los Angeles. I mean, the numbers are phenomenal. And I think each phase is about 300 tons a day, if I remember right. And that's 600 there. They're already bringing us about 150. That's 750 a day. I think they're generating about 1,600 tons a day. So it's about half of what they're generating.
I'm just curious.
It's a crazy number up there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dean.
Thank you, Dean. Is there a way to, this may be way more work than we want to, but is there any way of finding out how much of our organics is contaminated? Do you guys, is that easily available or is that a lot of work?
Well, we made a conscious decision that we're not going to enforce that. When we did the town hall meetings, we said to the public, that's the nature of the business. We know that the green waste is going to be contaminated, and CNR is going to pick out the contaminants when it's at the transfer station.
Okay. I would be curious, if it's a major issue or if it's a small issue. I know we told the public, but
Dean may know.
It's a great question. We set up a sort line at CRT at the transfer station specifically for organics, and we used it for a short time for your products. But to be very honest with you, we can floor sort the organics coming in from Costa Mesa Sand District, and it's not a big deal.
okay,
That's good.
that's good. That's comforting to know that our people our residents.
I firmly believe, your decision to do those 9 or 10 town hall meetings, and we had, I don't know how many people coming, but that was really worthwhile. And we're going to take that same thing, and a couple other cities have signed up recently. Midway wants to do the same program you guys did, and, I think that really helped and really worked.
Education always does.
Education outreach is great.
Yeah, thanks, Dean. Okay, let's go to item 4 then.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nabil Guzman will be giving this report.
Yeah.
Good morning, President Schaefer and members of the board. I will be presenting fiscal year 16-17 diversion report. Using monthly data from Sierra Neva's recycling report and OCC's recycling center recycling report, we have calculated our diversion rate for fiscal year 16-17 at 62.82%. A total of 46,153.63 tons of solid waste was collected, of which 28,993.09 tons was recycled. In attachment 8, you can see that we separated it by month and type of material, such as newspaper, glass, aluminum cans. And we also included 2 of our other solid waste diversion programs, Christmas trees and large item pickups. So do you guys have any questions?
Okay, with the additions that OCC is making, is that going to increase their volume, you think?
Of recycled?
Yes.
Or, yes. It adds to our total tonnage collected, but it also adds to our total amount recycled.
I don't know if you've driven by lately, but that place is like 4 times as large as the previous one.
I
And
think it's
it
gonna
looks
be
like it's going to open
significant.
soon.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a significant change with the availability and as the independent people are closing down.
Yes.
Orange Coast is going to be the only game anywhere. So I agree with that.
What percentage is that, Dean, like 2 or 3% from OCC? You
It's about,
remember?
it's about 3%.
3%, so, okay.
Bob?
Well, I wanted to ask about that 3%. We're reporting it, you've got it in your yearly summary. But don't they have to report that? They're on a separate reporting system, I believe. And so when CR&R or sanitary district turns in their data to the city to report that, is that number probably won't be in there, will it?
I can answer that. Yes, that will be, because we've asked permission from Cal Recycle before we include these numbers. Can we include the numbers in our diversion? They said yes.
And so they don't separately report that?
No, OCC is on different requirements than the cities, so I don't think they report anything, to be honest with you. So we've got email confirmation from Cal Recycle that this is appropriate.
Okay, that's good.
That's awesome.
And that is the difference. Basically, our green waste program hasn't made any movement in the data. It's just this 3%.
We're hoping that when CNR finishes their waste characterization study, that we'll see that number go up even higher.
It could go down also.
I think it will go up.
I think it'll go up.
I think it'll probably go
Well,
up.
you're the poker player. You should think it'll go up.
You know, they offered me a donor's card after they watched me play.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Okay. Any other questions for Nabil?
No, it's good.
Good job.
It's good to
Thank
see.
you. I mean, it's to go from 50% not that long ago to 62%. Well, yeah, but I mean, when I first
It wasn't
got on the
50.
board, it was down 51 or 52. I think that's good.
The board members subsequent to your term.
Oh, is that what it was? No doubt. But I think Dean's exactly right. By getting out and telling the public what they should do, they would only listen most of the time. Okay, item 5, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gina Girardo, Regional Report.
Gina, good.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. You have in front of you the quarterly legislative report for May through July. And there were just a few updates and things I wanted to mention. The first is SB 496 regarding indemnity for design professionals. This bill passed at the end of April. And the bill limits the duty of a design professional such as an architect, landscaper, engineer, or land surveyor that enters into a contract with any non-state public agency on or after January 1st, 2018, so that they are only required to indemnify a public agency against acts of negligence, recklessness, or willful misconduct.
Bless you.
Bless you. Additionally, public agencies would have to front the legal costs to defend design professionals in any litigation pertaining to these types of
Can you re-say that
contracts.
again?
Oh, sure. So public agencies would have to front the legal costs to defend design professionals in any litigation pertaining to contracts with public agencies. And it's only after the litigation concludes that the design professional would have to pay their proportionate percentage of fault in the case as the court decides.
Did CSDA oppose this?
They did, and we actually opposed it as well last
You did
year.
too, yeah.
They fought really hard to kill the bill last year, and they were successful, but this year it did pass. So that's
Gina,
gonna-
is this the design professionals within the agency or the contracted design?
Contractors.
Contracted design
Yeah.
professional.
It basically relieves them of having to carry their own insurance is what it is.
Yes.
Well, if they're found guilty, they end up having to reimburse the
I
agency.
understand, but
But-
a lot of the contractors would rather pay it rather than pay the insurance cost up front.
Oh.
They're going to pay it afterwards just in case they lose.
Well, like they're self-insured then.
Essentially, they're self-insured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's going to go into effect January 1st of next year. The second thing is that the district is continuing to support AB 979, which helps special districts who don't have access or who don't have representation on LAFCO to easily get representation. And this is a bill that passed in the Assembly, and it's close to passing in the Senate. We spoke to Assemblyman Harper and Senator Morlock about it when we went to Sacramento for CSDA Ledge Days, and they both ended up voting in support of the bill. So we had a little bit of an impact there. And then the last thing is that I've added AB 1479 to our opposed list. This bill is opposed by CSDA as well, and it sets up a civil penalty ranging from $1,000 to $5,000 against public agencies who improperly withhold a public record. And many special districts feel that this additional penalty is unnecessary because an agency that violated the PRA by improperly withholding a public record would already have to, they'd already be required to pay the legal fees for the accusing party, and those can be much more than $5,000, more like $100,000. And CSD believes that this could create an incentive for serial litigators to pursue these types of cases in order to extort taxpayer money from local public agencies. So we did send a letter of opposition to the bill's author as well as the Senate Judiciary Committee earlier this month.
When you send that bill, do you tell them why you're opposed to it?
Yes, yeah. So that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Well, that was really interesting.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the 496 passed because there was a lot of opposition. I think especially CSDA especially did a lot of hard work against that. And they campaigned very hard. So, okay. Thank you. Report. Okay. Item 7.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So, staff is proposing a change in our operational hours here at HQ. To give you some historical background, when we were at our old facility on West 19th Street, HQ was closed every other Friday, and that was to accommodate the staffing that used to work for the city. They were on the 980 program. The board agreed to close every other Friday. When the board hired me in 2010, the board directed me to open our administrative offices 5 days a week, which we did. However, I do believe, and I did believe, and I still do, that a 980 schedule is very good for morale. People like having every other Friday off, and I also believe it's a very effective tool for recruiting. When you're doing recruitment, that hey, you have a 980 schedule, you can be off every other Friday. So we did that, and we can continue to do that here at our new facility. We have grown a little bit since then. I mean, when we're back at the old facility, then we have about 7 staff. Now we have about 10 staff. So that means every other Friday we're basically half staff. And on some of those Fridays, there's staff that is not very, like I say, useful or effective in the front office. For one, like me, myself. If someone calls on the front the office phone, I won't know where to direct them or how to issue a permit. We also have our maintenance assistants. He doesn't know anything to do about doing the front office. So it really leaves 4 people. And so when I have someone that's on maybe on leave due to sick, vacation, or on training, that might leave 1 or 2, possibly 3 people here at HQ, and it's just not a very effective way to serve the public. It can also be a very expensive way. Sometimes I have Wendy or Nalani, who are department heads, covering the front office. I don't believe you'll see any other agency doing that, having their department heads answering phones in the front office. The reason why I'm proposing this now is because 7 years ago, since 7 years, technology has changed vastly, and we could still, I believe we could still provide superior service to the customer even if we're off every other Friday. In fact, before our meeting today, I was watching a video of a consultant on leadership, and he recommended, one of the things he recommended in leadership is to make things easier for the public. And for example, Uber is now easier to catch a ride. Amazon is a lot easier to buy products. Well, we can make it easier, or at least try to make it easier for people to submit their permits online, issue a permit online, pay their fees online while we're closed. So there is that possibility. Also, if there is a trash collection issue on a Friday we're off, they can call our front office phone, and there is a direct line to CR&R. All they do is push a button and go directly to CR&R. If they can't get through to CR&R, they can email us, and we will get that email, and we can contact CR&R directly. On the wastewater side, the yard would still be open. They still have the current operation as today, which they're still on a 980 schedule, but we would have someone here every Friday. So even if we're closed on a Friday, we still have staff here on the wastewater side servicing the public. Now, if there was a call into the HQ for wastewater service or a complaint, again, they can call directly into Steve or to the yard, and we would get that message. So my recommendation is to consider closing every other Friday. I also want to mention that we surveyed all public agencies in Orange County, except the school districts, but we surveyed all the cities, all the special districts, even LAFCO, and we found 22 agencies in Orange County are either closed on every other Friday or they're closed every Friday. So, you know, we wouldn't be the only one in the county doing that. And I still believe we can still provide superior service being closed every other Friday. So, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, when you talk about your online services, are they in effect right now?
No, they're not. We'd have to look at, there's certain software products out there we'd have to research, get the cost, and bring that back to you for approval. Because I don't believe we budgeted that
I like
item.
your idea, but I think we have to have that in place first.
Sure, we can do that.
That's just my opinion. But
Yeah, I understand having the online services. I think we're evolving. You're right, Scott, we're evolving. Everybody's, my business, I see a dramatic drop-off on Fridays. I see a dramatic, I'm talking about my activities, not me personally, Art. But I have less customers that call on a Friday or come in because they can pay their bills online, they can do a lot of that. So I think that's where we're going.
Yeah.
How long do you think that might take to implement?
You know, give us some time to research it, probably have to test it out. It might take a couple months, you know, so.
Are you asking for our acceptance now? Or
Yes.
To do it now?
If you're okay with this, I'll bring it back on your regular board meeting next week before you get a formal approval, and then give us direction to implement it, and we'll come up with a timeline when we can implement it, and then we'll do some PR as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, my turn?
Your turn.
Okay. I feel very strong about being closed every other Friday. I think it's worthwhile because I've been here before when on a Friday, and you don't get that same good feeling that you would get if morale-wise that you had that off, and you know, even if you're going out for somebody to hire, you know, to know that you have every other Friday off, it means a lot to people. And now, like you said, on technology, it's amazing how everything seems to go around on, you got to do it online. So it's even more so that we're paying people just to sit here and do nothing. I mean, there's not that much to do. Like you say, you cannot do something effectively like the person who, that's their job.
Yes.
So, anyway, I'd like to see it go next Thursday into our agenda and for public hearing, and then, make decisions on it.
Anything else? I think from a morale standpoint, and I'm sure you polled your staff to see how they would, every other Friday would be a good morale booster.
Yes.
And our staff does such a good job. We're looking at results and statistics, and like Joe said earlier, it isn't EEC doing the work, it's you guys, so. Okay, Jimmy?
We met earlier with Scott, and Scott did ask the staff at the yard how they felt about this, and they were 100% good with the proposal.
Well, they're good for status quo. They're not. Their schedule's not changing at all. So we asked them, do you want to consider being on the same schedule we're on, or do you want to stay status quo? And they want to stay with their current what they're doing right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably the most necessary coverage that we have is the wastewater staff. But basically, staff is presently already on every other Friday off. It just depends on which Friday off they have. But I would support the idea, having you here trying to answer questions.
Would be good.
Not material. Are you going to change? Are you going to change your?
Yes, I'll be on 982.
Okay.
When it comes, like we're talking, I think the wastewater sides are more critical. Because I know I was going to bring some of the comments, but I'll do it now. There was 2 weeks ago, Facebook lit up, at least the ones that I follow, about the trash. There was one of the community activists whose trash got missed, and I mean, she went nuts. And I think you got involved, and I know Wendy got involved, and essentially her last Facebook comment was so complimentary of what you guys did. I mean, it shows that we respond. I mean, CR&R responded, and who knows? It could have been there were comments on Facebook from people you wouldn't expect, like, oh, there must have been a car blocking your trash can, or you must not have had it out in time. So we do respond, and I think we have the technology to be closed every other Friday and still handle those things. If nothing else, Facebook will tell us that we got a problem. Right?
Exactly.
Let's see. The message to CR&R is I would recommend that staff listen to the message to see how deep into the conversation it gets before the resident finally figures out to push that button to get to CR&R.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It might be better to be up in a different position in the hierarchy of.
Yes, I understand.
Because generally staff are not happy, or residents would not be happy at that point. The reason they're making the call to us.
That's a good point.
It's real good.
Real good
Same
point.
thing.
If you don't want to listen to 14 options, is that what you're saying?
Or get Scott later.
Okay, oral communications. The other comment I had was feedback about concerts in the park. Congratulations to our who's going tonight?
Me and Val.
Okay. The public that we talked to, they were really stoked about your game. They were really stoked about it must be your two personalities, because even family members were so complimentary. So congratulations.
Yeah, I heard that the line was wrapped around, and,
Yeah, you were saying
and even Gina Mesa was jealous. Mesa Water was jealous because we got so much.
We got better swag.
So much activity.
Who's that guest in our audience? Is there a guest in our audience to speak to something?
No, that's my mom.
Oh, is that your mom? Okay.
There's a big resemblance. You poor thing, you had to sit there.
I take back everything I said about that.
This is the guy you want to talk to right here, Mom, right there.
She has nothing to say.
Make him buy.
We've just been on a family vacation.
He told it. Are you a Youper? Are you a Youper? Oh. Well, that's Michigan. Never mind.
No, it's
Minnesota.
You're from Minnesota.
Gophers. Yeah.
Yeah, but the upper part of Michigan, that peninsula way up there, they call them they're called Youpers.
Yeah.
Is that like,
Yeah.
They're the ones over here.
They're the real strange ones.
So what should I say? My mom's strange? What should I say?
Minnesota are fine.
I have one more comment.
Go ahead.
The concerts in the park are utilizing a generator tonight.
How many, just one, or how many do they have?
One. And I'm working with Mike Carey, and the people who borrowed the generators, at least when we used them at the fish fry, the Lions Club did, don't realize that they have to have a grounding rod.
Yeah.
Which means the fire inspector can come by, or whoever is the inspector, and prohibit them from using them. So I think we need to look at our policy to maybe give the people that might be using them that information.
That's why I had Scott call you about the boxes.
Yeah.
You know, the spider boxes, because I knew that you dealt with the spider boxes and the rods.
And the pigtails and,
And the pigtails,
and
exactly.
maybe the cords. And so it might be worth surveying the people who've used them, including the Lions Club. And
Yeah.
Well, we know the Lions Club.
We do
knows
put the
that-
grounding rods in. I had a conversation with a pretty powerful electrician, a guy that knows
Mhm.
his stuff, and he said that the generators are self-grounding. The fact that they sit on rubber tires and the machines themselves are self. What the city makes us do at the fish fry is about 300% overkill. But that said, if they're going to operate in the city, we need to let them know that, hey, that's what the city requires.
Yeah, that's a city requirement that,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
the,
how expensive are these things? I mean,
Oh, they're not. They're not.
Why don't we just provide them with it?
well, that's a potential too.
Once you pound it in the ground, it's so hard to
We,
get.
Well, I'm-
the Lions Club owns the metal rods, not the sand district.
Right.
So if we were going to provide we'd have to have a metal rod to provide to them to tell them this is what, if they're using it in the city, which they have to, basically.
Well,
I'd rather-
I'm taking one over to Mike Carey.
Yeah.
I prefer us not providing them because there
No,
is-
well, not, yeah,
No,
but they need to know that they need to
they
get
need
them.
they need to take care of it.
Yeah.
If the district provides them,
No, I'm not asking that.
because there's a
No,
way to hook
I
it
just
up.
threw that out, but when the city borrows it for the Christmas program they put on, do they put a metal rod in theirs?
No,
They do. But
They
it's
do
not,
not.
it's a, that's what I
they do
mean.
not. I looked at it when I was over there this year.
You're right, they don't.
They don't.
They don't, you're right.
Well, I think there's 3 or 4 questions that staff needs to think through about our policy on lending the generators.
I agree with you, Bob, but I know what happens at the fish fry is we have to have an electrical inspection.
Yeah.
When the city does their own event, like concerts or Snoopy, they don't inspect themselves. But we need to tell the
Not
public.
the public's problem.
I understand what you're saying, it just.
I mean, they could be
there's a
shut down,
dichotomy
you know,
there.
they could be shut down based on them not being able to get
Yeah,
one of
you're
these devices, put it in the ground, and whatever the requirement is.
Mike, how do we know that our generators are self-grounding?
The electrician I talked to told me they were,
Anyway,
and he's he's good.
Maybe that'd be
They're
a
new
question.
generators, so they're going to be up to standards.
I thought
Yeah, I mean,
Steve, I thought
we could ask
Steve
that
told me
question,
that, too.
just for our own reference.
Okay, any other comments? Well, welcome. You did a good job. You did a good job with it.
Are we on closing communications now, or what are we on?
No, we're.
Okay.
Okay.
Did anyone attend the 4th of July
At the fairgrounds?
display?
Oh,
at
the city
fairgrounds?
sponsored one?
Yeah.
One of my golf buddies did.
I just wondered how that went.
He said it was really good,
Yeah.
but he lives in Hankin Beach, so I don't know. But he and his wife came out to see it.
But it was, I guess it was the type that just, you see it, but you don't hear it. I mean, it didn't
Yeah.
produce.
Is that what it
anything.
was?
Yeah.
yeah, I was in Michigan, they have the same
Oh, yeah?
kind of fireworks.
I was in
Some of
Hawaii.
them do. Costa Mesa's a war zone, 4th of July.
Oh,
Yeah.
It sounded like a war zone.
We were at my sister's in Rancho Bernardo for 4th of July, and when the whole town of Rancho Bernardo, the whole San Diego area, it was quiet. You didn't hear anything, but as soon as we got home, until 3 in the morning,
Oh, yeah.
it was tough.
Maybe we could, maybe find out how it went on John Stevens' perspective. I mean, you could do that for liaison, something just for us, because if we're going to donate
If we're
money
going
to
to
that,
donate to it, I'd like.
we
I
want to make
agree.
sure it's a valuable concept.
Okay, anything else? And then I will adjourn us.
We're still on
Oh,
oral,
sorry.
we haven't gone to oral communication yet, have we, or not?
Yeah, that's what we're in right now.
What about we got this brochure about the CASA annual conference in September. Do you need to book those reservations now?
Yes, for
My-
CSBA.
Yeah, for CSDA. meeting.
Mine's already, SDRMA's
I
already done
didn't
mine.
get one.
You get this booklet?
I didn't get it
No.
either. I have it at home, I believe, but
But I mean, I thought you should get on that right away. Is it, what hotels are going to be at?
No, CSD.
I have to check it.
He said Cass City School.
Okay.
You already have it.
Okay. So, I probably will be attending.
is that the September conference?
Yes, that's September, but it's almost August, and if we don't book
It's
it.
the CSDA, sorry.
Yeah, you said CASA, but you.
Yeah, I mean
You
CSDA.
threw me.
Sorry, I'm sorry, CSDA.
What date is it?
It's the
27.
25th.
25th through the 28th of
25th?
September.
Is that the 25th is Sunday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a
we-
reception, I think, that night.
Now, did we fly up last year?
Yes.
Okay.
When December made.
Yeah, but I'm thinking flying was easier. and it's
Last time
less-
you drove, it wasn't a good deal.
No, it wasn't good. I quit driving.
Yeah, I'm available.
I'm going to go.
And like I said, mine's not. I'm already reserved. Okay, anything else?
So are they able to do the hotels yet?
That's what I'm saying. We should probably
Yes,
book it.
they've opened it.
Oh,
So
good,
they're reserved
good,
already.
good, good. Yeah, so we can get
There was a
it.
problem with the Marriott, or with the convention center, right?
Yeah, Yes.
I need to go up on the 25th,
Yeah, is that Sunday?
not the 24th.
Is the 25th a Monday?
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking the 24th for me, probably.
Don't worry about it. Okay, if there's nothing else, then we'll adjourn.